No, 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 no. I owed him up. No, 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 no. I owed him up.
Hello, beautiful souls. Namaste. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome new channel subscribers, and shout out to all the channel members. I am so happy and grateful to be here to give you this presentation. I have been talking to some people over the last few weeks about their life and about the cosmos and about all the things going on with them. And there's some great stories. Just people just popping off, having spontaneous Kundalini, either via mechanism of arousal, laughter, crying, emotional outburst. It's literally just like there's this popping off energy. It's everywhere. It's amazing. And really, all you can do is laugh sometimes, because when you do, the most amazing things happen to your body, and the most amazing things happen to your mind and your brain as a result of that laughter. And today's presentation is pretty amazing. I don't think you're going to get a presentation like this anywhere on the internet or otherwise, because we are going to include astrology, neurophysiology, neuroanatomy. We're going to talk about hormones a little bit. We're going to talk about, let's see, what else? We're going to talk about the Kundalini and laughter. We're going to talk about the astrology too, and why all of this ties in together. There is no decoding or numerology in this talk. I wanted to take my time with the spiritual teachings and then really dive into the astrology of this week. So what I have done for you all, and I just finished this recording about an hour ago, is I have recorded a full moon decode. And so the idea is that you listen to this presentation, and then with a light heart and an open mind, you click on that decode, which will be available for members immediately and available for the rest of you guys on Wednesday. So think about joining if you want. It's really a good price, and you get stuff a little earlier. And I like to love on members. So you can do that. But this is really cool. It took me about 45 minutes to record it, and it's really, really good. I go over the full moon in great detail. I go through the numerology, the astrology. Y'all are going to love it. So let's see who's here. Who's here for this amazing lecture? All right. Ultimus says 5 by 5. Thank you so much. Lori from Washington is here. Hello, Lori. Thank you for listening and helping out and being the beautiful soul that you are. Ultimus loves dad jokes. Yeah, me too. They're so silly and funny. There's a lot of energy around laughter. When you think about it and you dive into it, like where it actually comes from, where it originates from in the body, and even analyze where it can go wrong. It's very, very interesting. So we're going to cover some of that as well today too. And I just think this full moon is sort of the culmination of that eclipse and peak retrograde for Mercury and Venus portal that we just went through. It was really weird, wasn't it? Like Did you guys have like crazy dreams, crazy visions, disconnected actions that all kind of somehow coalesced into the right thing? That's literally what's happening to me. So it's fun because I don't know what's happening next, but it's hopefully soon it'll all settle down, especially after this full moon and everything starts moving out of the Pisces soup. I was actually going to call this talk Pisces soup, but I used it in the decode instead. I used a little bit of alchemology. We have Vazteca Fitness. I saw your comment on my blog post. I appreciate that. I want to be original. I'm not like anybody I know. I'm a thinker, I'm a researcher, I'm a skeptic, but at the same time, like I'm a magical thinker and a believer. And to bring those two together and then be able to give it to you in at least a somewhat or at least 83% coherent way, it just brings me joy. I'm so happy to be able to be here and to talk to you guys. I have a couple of announcements before we get started. Desiree's here. Hi, Des. Thank you so much for coming. Darlene Johnson's here. Hello, Darlene. Christine Yan, hello. Cool. Looks like we have 17 starting off. A lot of people are going live today, and that's cool. Y'all can watch this later. That's the beauty of YouTube. It's amazing. The other thing I've noticed, you guys, about the internet landscape, I don't know if you all have noticed this or not. Let me know in the comments, but I sometimes I'll just go onto my YouTube homepage and I just won't look for anything. I'll just see what YouTube suggests. And over the last, I don't know, I would say maybe 3-4 weeks, the suggestions have changed. And I know that YouTube did change their algorithm to help the subscriber have a better viewing experience. And I have a viewing profile where I lurk on stuff. And then I've got my official Dr. Danny channel. And literally within, I don't know, maybe a week's time, all the stuff that I used to get suggested or served to me changed in an incredible way. I'm getting all these strange metaphysical channels with like 2-3 million subscribers. And I don't know where they came from because I've been, there's a few teachers on YouTube that I follow that I've been following for years. And all of a sudden, like their videos are not served up for me, even though they're still podcasting. It's very, very interesting. So if you guys are noticing that, please let me know. All right. Well, let's see. This is going to be good. It may not be as long as our normal live streams, guys, because I did want to break up the intense decoding part of it and put that in a separate video so that those of you that want to indulge in a little brain melting and some mind candy later, that will be available. I'm still trying to figure out the title for it, but it's done and I'll be uploading it very shortly. In fact, when I'm done here. Christine Yen said, just watched Athens. Yeah, I feel like last week, I feel bad. I realized I scheduled our live last Sunday, the same time he went live, and I stepped on him and I felt bad for that. So I figured I'd wait till 1:00 today. But I worked yesterday. I had a very nice shift. Everything was very mellow, very calm. And so I got a little bit of rest. And I came home and just started working and getting things ready for this live. And I completed the recording for the decode. So cool. All right, let's do this. Let me share my screen. Like that. Hide. And this up. The serpent laughs. Excuse me. Kundalini laughter and the astrology of now. So yeah, like I said, I was going to name this talk Pisces soup, but I keep getting interrupted by this serpent energy, and it's not the kind of spooky, dark, painful energy. It's playful, it's fun, it's sexy, it's creative, it's kind of a higher sacred path than what you might think, in terms of the serpent representing the demonic or the dark side of our existence. I see this kind of serpent sort of coiled around an egg and protecting it, but at the same time resisting the urge to, bite the egg and stop creation. So it's very interesting to learn about this and to understand where all this where all this mythology around the serpent comes from. So yeah, I was going to name this Pisces soup because we have Neptune, Mercury, Saturn, Venus, and the north node of our beautiful moon all right here in Pisces. So you can see this. For anyone that's new to my channel, I use constellational astrology. I look at the actual sky. So right now you might be thinking the sun is in Aries, when in fact, if you were to take your night sky app and literally point it at the sky, at the sun, it would display for you the constellation of Pisces. And for me, when we're doing astrology, I feel like if you're going to give personal advice to someone, it should be aligned to the cosmos in which you find yourself. Whether you believe this cosmos is a vast expanse of space and rocks and plasma, or if you believe this expanse is a simulation or a hologram, or if you believe it's just lights in the firmament, it's still what's above us. It's still the most constant thing that we've had, tying civilizations together over centuries. And you will find that when civilizations sort of become disjointed with their cosmology, that their civilizations fall. And there are many, many examples of this throughout history. And if you think of the Northern American indigenous peoples, they didn't worship the zodiac, they worshiped the pole star Polaris. And they called the circle of stars around Polaris the imperishables. And when they began to migrate south due to environmental, political concerns, things like that, they noticed that their imperishables would actually set, because the farther and farther away you would go from Polaris, the lower and lower in the sky the imperishables would get. And so they had a crisis in cosmology. And so that's where we are with tropical astrology versus not actually looking up at the sky. You can actually hire an astrologer to do your personal astrology, and it will sound very accurate, but they will have never once looked at the actual sky. So we are using the constellations for that reason. And this is just my truth. You don't have to believe me, but this really works very nicely if you're concerned about your soul-guided energy, your purpose here within this vast expanse of cosmos or code or whatever it is you think we exist in. And so here it is. It's in Pisces, and it's all just dreamy, and it's mystical, and it's artistic, and it's generous, and it's helpful, and it's loving. But it's also very scattered. It's very dark here. You maybe you can see 1 foot in front of the other for about 2 feet. It's like scuba diving in 5-foot visibility. You really can't see anything except for the rock on the bottom in front of you. You can't even see your hand if you extend it out. And that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. It's you have to almost just close your eyes and trust when you're moving through Pisces energy. Darlene Johnson says it's like we're traveling through multiple portals. I mean, totally. I have literally felt the same exact thing, and it's amazing. I made the analogy in my decode about Doodle Jump. I don't know if you guys know about that game, but Doodle Jump is this little character that you have to kind of tilt your screen, and you get him to jump on these platforms, and it gets harder and harder the higher and higher you get. And there's levels where if you jump on a platform that like you have 2 seconds to jump off to the next higher platform, or it dissolves and you fall and the game's over. So that's kind of what it feels like. So while we're doing this talk, which has some serious concepts in it, I want to do a top 10 countdown for the soupiest Pisces moments that we are moving through. And so hopefully you guys can resonate with some of these. I used ChatGPT to assist me with these soupiest moments because sometimes it does the silliest things. So I had to filter through some of them, and I got the best I could get, and I created a couple of my own. So here we go. Pisces soup, the soupiest moment, number 10. You giggled at a meme, and then the giggle turned into a spiritual download, like, right? So I don't know, maybe you're scrolling through Facebook, and all of a sudden you see a meme, and then you get this emotional hit, and you start to either cry or laugh or go down a rabbit hole. It's literally what's happening right now. Don't be scared, guys. Like I said, I'm not going to do any decoding today, but I wanted to show you our calendar that we've been working on this year. This is the wave that we've been working on and predicting and watching and observing. And we made it to the other side. We're here on 4-6. This is where this lands. Okay, so we made it through the Venus star point in Pisces. We made it through Mercury retrograde inferior conjunction. Mercury turns direct today. So that's nice. And then on Saturday, Venus will station direct. And this is also the first day of Passover at sundown. And then the weekend after that is Easter. So this is such a beautiful, holy time. A lot of the decode that I did earlier today was surrounded around the number 33, which always reminds me of that sort of Christ consciousness, that rebirth energy. And I feel like we've all done that. And we've done it in fits and spurts through these spontaneous releases of emotional energy. Let's see. Okay. So I wanted to show you here, since we're on this timeline, and we'll look at these graphs again, but I've shown you all this before. This is an intensity energy, where intensity is here on the left, and then on the bottom here is the span of time. And this is not to scale, but this is a Mercury cycle. And what we just went through was Mercury retrograde. So station retrograde, station direct. That happens today. And so we're on the downward swing of this intense retrograde energy. Your brain should start to feel a little bit better. Things will become more clearer as the days move on. But these cycles are quick, right? So this is the beginning of Mercury's next cycle will be right at the end of May, I think May 30th. So just a few weeks to kind of get your ducks in order and get ready for this next Mercury cycle. Same thing with Venus. We're not quite to station direct with Venus. We have a little bit to go. So that intense, creative, juicy, wonderful, vibing energy is dying down a little bit. But it's a dispersion phase. I've showed you guys the life cycle of the dandelion, right? Where this was the full puffy ball of the dandelion. Now it's the dispersion phase. So you're going to see a lot of creative things come out of this next few months as Venus finishes up Pisces here at the end of May. So a lot of cool things to look forward to. All right, Pisces soup number 9. You merged with your houseplants and now they are your emotional support system. So I just envisioning, kind of carrying this plant with you that helped you through a breakup or a tough conversation, and you want to take it with you on a trip, and they're asking you about it, and you're like, this is my emotional support plant, deal with it. All right, so astrology, laughter, and the Kundalini. So when we talk about the Kundalini, we're referring to this stream of energy. I often refer to it as fourth density light. And when we talk about density, it's, similar to dimensions, but they're photons that travel in the fourth dimension. I don't want to get all like tied up in linguistics, but it's basically the part of light that you can't see, that's all around you all the time. You have your eyes to filter it. You have your skin to feel heat, the ability to taste that, you have your senses, you have your physical body to filter out all of that bright, intense, dense fourth dimensional light and fourth density light. And so you see a 3D spectrum of it. You're almost like a prism. And this fourth dimensional liquid light, I like to call it, to me, in my teachings and in what I teach for Venus astrology, because I'm a Venus expert, I specialist, I love to do Venus readings. This energy, this coiling energy is Venus. And we've seen that through the Venus decodes, the white serpent. She is that white. She doesn't associate with any chakra in particularly. She has different jobs in each chakra, but she is the energy that flows through these nadis, so to speak. So in Hindu tradition, you have the Sushumna nadi, you have the Ida nadi, and you have the Pingala nadi. And these nadis, they look a lot like the twists of DNA, don't they? Almost as if you are a fractal representation of how DNA filters fourth dimensional light to create matter. And that's basically what you're doing. And so you want your energy to flow. Excuse me, guys, I'm going to cough real quick. So you want your energy to flow through these centers without blockage, without issue, without fear, with trust, with faith. And what you find is that you are an unstoppable creator once you're able to do that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this laughter. Hopefully you guys are not going to keep any laughter inside of you anymore when you realize how important it is to laugh. So why is astrology connected to laughter and the Kundalini? Well, because these planets are also directly tied to our physical bodies. They have vibrational resonances. In other words, they have frequencies that activate the very same frequencies in our physical body space, not just our physical body, but also our emotional, our thought form body, or all the many layers of our existence that we can see and that we can feel. And Uranus typically rules the nervous system. So it's like shocks of energy, seizures, voltage, lightning, breakthrough. Uh, some people might have migraines breakthrough. Some people might have more seizures when Uranus is activated in their chart. So it basically overrides the logical mind completely, which is Mercury, which is Gemini, and it sends raw current like through the spine and body. And so if you are feeling like you're bursting through with some kind of laughter episode, or you're finding yourself aroused for no reason, or you start crying for no reason, just like really ugly drunk kind of crying, it's because this is being activated for you in some way, either through the current transit or how it's being affected in your natal chart. So these are what people call ascension symptoms. When you get that jolt of energy, when you get that fire of Uranus through your whole naughty system, you might feel like twitching, shaking, buzzing, laughing, all signs of this energy moving through the naughty pathway. Now, Mercury is, so if Uranus is the activation, is the jolt, is the paddles when we're doing a code, then Mercury is the neural pathways and the breath. So the ability to connect the nervous system to vocalization is Mercury's energy, because it takes the brain and creates communication with it. So Mercury's kind of like how we as three-dimensional beings communicate with each other and with our own thoughts, and Uranus just jolts the whole system. So the flow of information through the body, through breath, speech, perception, the vagus nerve. When we activate Mercury, especially in Pisces, and by the way, y'all, Uranus is sextile to this whole Pisces soup. So we do have a Mercury Uranus activation here. Um, it's dissolving barriers between the mind and energy. So where your mind might be able to normally control those surges, it can't anymore. Even if it wants to, it's like it's paralyzed. And so it bubbles up, right? But sometimes this can lead to like some really profound and honest truths, right? Soul level communication, spontaneous light language, downloads, putting together a presentation without even realizing you did it, which is what happened with that other one. For me, the decode I did. I mean, this stuff's crazy. So laughter, tears, spontaneous vocalizations, the soul is just kind of speaking in waveform. And the more and more blocked it is for you naturally, like if you're normally walking around in a blocked state, the weirder it's going to be for you. For me, it's hilarious. I'm like, whoa, that was amazing. But a lot of people go through some stuff, and they don't know who to talk to about it. They don't know if anybody's going to think they're weird or nuts, but you're not. You're totally not. And as again, we'll review, Kundalini is yours, and then the collective we also have through the Earth's chakras. We are part of that Kundalini system, part of the Earth's nadis. Right. So if we are creating a blockage, a problem for planet Earth, a place where the energy can't flow because we're not flowing, then we affect the collective. So like I said, these things, they might not feel so good at first because they're uncomfortable. You feel weird. You feel strange, like something's wrong with you. Obviously, if you are concerned about a physical symptom, check and visit your doctor or healthcare provider. Rule out anything organic going on. But if you come up clean and you're still having these issues, it may be a little bit of meditation, a little bit of grounding work that you need to do, a little bit of just sort of sitting with it, just sit with whatever is happening. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes I'll get hit with just waves of immense love for like the world and people, just by seeing, hearing a baby laugh. Like when we listen to that intro, there's nothing better than a baby laughing. So yeah, basically don't be so hard on yourself is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, let yourself sort of spill over. And what happens is you feel this tremendous release. And then all of a sudden there's all these endorphins going through your body and you feel like so amazing and so good. So, number 8, soupiest moment in Pisces. You heard a song and immediately started healing a past life in Atlantis. Like this is literally what we're talking about here. These are moments that are okay. There's nothing to fear about them. There's nothing to feel strange about them. There's nothing to um, feel embarrassed about either. Like just let it happen. It is what it is. So let's get into the metaphysics of laughter. We're going to break this part of the talk into about 6 little subcategories. This is fun for me because I'm a physician, I'm a scientist, and this is how we learned back in the day when I was in school and we were taught sort of traditionally. We learned the anatomy and physiology, and then we learned everything that could go wrong. That was second year of medical school, and when you are a second year medical student, you literally think you have everything from leukemia to Down syndrome. It's hilarious because you have this like, oh my gosh, you're just, it's being thrown at you all the time. The power of suggestion. So check it out. You have a really, really cool thing in the middle of your bony head called your brain. So when we talk about neuroanatomy, we're going to look at the frontal lobe, the motor cortex, and the limbic system, specifically the hypothalamus, the amygdala, the nucleus accumbens, and the periaqueductal gray matter. Don't be scared of these words. There's no test. This is going to be fun. You're going to know so much about your brain. And like I said, you're not going to get a lecture like this anywhere. So let's think about the frontal lobe. This is that amazing piece of gray matter in between that bony. If you knock on your forehead right there, if you knock on your forehead, this is where you're knocking, this prefrontal area. Okay, this whole frontal lobe. This is where your thinker sits. This is where you make decisions. That's executive function. That's all that means. It means I have all this data that's been brought up through the spinal column from the peripheral nervous system. You've got all this instinctual hormonal stuff that's going on back here. You got your sight, your sound, your intuition. All of that's feeding into this prefrontal cortex, and it gets to decide. Okay. So that's what the executive function is. And it really does control your emotional energies. Like the more executive function you have in your prefrontal cortex, the easier it is for you to smile when you want to spit venom or to, hold in the tears when you need to walk out of the room for a minute. That's what this part of the brain does. And so when you're in those moments, you can even have an awareness to the prefrontal cortex and give it a thank you and say, thank you for keeping me sane in this moment, because that's literally what it does. And it's also part of how we actually speak, where we can decide what we want to say. When we get drunk, um, this all kind of goes downhill. This goes to sleep and you say whatever the heck you want. Or when you're really tired, the executive functioning tends to go down. Now, in laughter specifically, it helps you interpret humor. Like, so what is actually freaking funny? Like, what is it that makes you laugh? And I am, in the practice of mindfulness, you when you do burst out into laughter, you want to check yourself and say, what am I actually laughing at? And one of them is just fart jokes. Like I literally think they're the funniest thing on the planet. I wish I had a little fart sound effect here, because even though I'm 50 years old and a mature grown ass woman, the sounds of fart just make me laugh. So like I don't know why that is. I think that's true for a lot of people. Some people think it's gross, but that is part of my prefrontal cortex. It also regulates my emotions. So let's say when I'm maybe I'm at work and I'm really, really tired and I get a phone call and it's, sometimes you get questions that could have been asked later, like they didn't need to be asked at 3 a.m. It was just nothing urgent and you just fell asleep and now you have to wake up and answer that question. There can be a little bit of emotional anger coming through, right? So the prefrontal cortex kicks on and gets real polite and thanks the person for calling me. So that's how you can get through the world and interact with other people. Also, some people have this ability, but some of us don't, is volitional control over facial and vocal expression. I'm one of those people that you can tell when I'm thinking about something or something other than what I'm saying is actually on my mind. I give it away. I'm not a good surprise keeper. I'm not that kind of thing. So, like, if something's really awesome or I have a really good hand in poker, I'm terrible at it. This is where you get your poker face right here, too. If this area is damaged, you can have all kinds of issues with your emotion. People that have prefrontal damage, they can't emote. They don't look at someone straight in the eye. They don't have that emotional connection. Then we have our motor cortex, which is actually like the laughter that comes from your gut and comes from the diaphragm, and the body tenses up, and you like grab onto your bladder so you don't pee yourself. Like, so the whole motor cortex is engaged in laughter, and you actually burn calories when you are laughing. And it is just behind the. It's part of the prefrontal cortex, but it connects the more emotional side of the body with the thinking bodies, because sometimes you have to move voluntarily but without thinking about it, and so that's why it's closer to that brainstem area. So it coordinates motor planning. Like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to adjust my microphone, I'm going to put my hand on my mouse, I'm going to look up and check my comments. All of that's happening in the frontal area of my brain, and it does connect to the other cranial nerves, like your facial muscles, your tongue, your voice box, that kind of thing. So, activating the laugh muscles, coordinating the breath and voice, and executing volitional laughter. So, I don't know if you've ever been surprised by laughter before. I had, I'll tell this funny story. I had some friends over visiting from Florida. They're my age, and we're just silly middle aged women, laughing at fart jokes. But if you take a straw and you put it under your armpit and you blow into it, it will generate one of the most beautiful fart sounds. And I think we were maybe only even 1 or 2 glasses of wine in, and I did that, and the uncontrollable laughter that burst out was amazing. I mean, it was such an incredible, funny thing because we weren't expecting that sound. We weren't expecting it from, the straw in the armpit. So anyway, just a little tip if you wanna make someone laugh. All right, number 7, the soupiest the soupiest thing in Pisces. You forgave your ex in a dream, but also they were a jellyfish and it was sacred. Yeah. So is anyone else having like conversations with people that you haven't seen or talked to in a while, or maybe people that you watch on YouTube? Maybe you're sending them messages or they're sending you messages? It's really, really interesting. I mean, I know that's kind of borderline sort of psychotic, but, I think it's fair in this Pisces energy that that's something that may realistically happen to people from time to time. Kind of funny, but maybe. Um, so the limbic system, this is really powerful. The moon rules your limbic system, the lunar cycles. This is where those just uncontrollable energy ebbs and flows come from you. There's a lot of water in this part of your brain as well. You've got the cerebrospinal fluid that collects in these ventricles on either side of the brain, and that carries hormones and it lubricates the nerves. And it's just it's great to have this space, but it's very watery in there. So whenever like the moon is going through an eclipse or a full moon cycle, or any kind of shift like that, or going through the critical point on your chart, then your emotional energies are heightened, your intuition is heightened, your reactions to things are heightened. So this process, all your emotions and emotional stuff is stored in the memory. It bypasses the uh, frontal lobe processing and goes right into memory formation. That's why things that are intense, when they happen, you remember every single detail. So things like 9/11 is a perfect example. I remember precisely where I was on September 11th at 9:11 in the morning, 2001. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what I did that day, what I did that afternoon, and I remember how it changed everything. So that was a big intense moment for me. Some of you may remember that. Some of you may remember something more recent that was intense for you, maybe a personal trauma, tragedy, accident, anything like that. That's going to be remembered by this limbic system because it bypasses that front part of the brain. And so when you're laughing, you remember those moments too. Remember those funny times you've had, like that bypasses that prefrontal cortex and goes right into etching them. That's why when you're laughing, you're storing wonderful memories. So it attaches feelings to the moment, and then it amplifies group bonding. So obviously, anytime you're all resonating in a laughter frequency, that limbic system is picking up other people's frequencies, because your limbic system is your intuitive channel. It's right there. It's actually surrounds your pineal gland. It surrounds your hypothalamus. It surrounds your amygdala, all that stuff that we're about to go in. So we're going to go deeper into the brain and really get at where this laughter reflex comes from. So just inside of this greater limbic system is the hypothalamus. And this is where the hormones come from. It regulates your nervous system. It regulates how your cells decide to eat or to uh, multiply or to excrete. It's something you don't really have control over. It's the clock inside of the head that keeps everything running. It's responsible for your circadian rhythms, all of that stuff. And so the outside influences that influence this part of the brain will secrete hormones into your body to regulate other functions throughout the body, especially in your hormonal glands. So, as soon as you feel laughter, as soon as you feel the trigger to laugh, it comes right here from this place, right from the hypothalamus. And it releases oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, all kinds of good stuff that we're going to talk about later. So, that's why laughter stores a memory, creates bonds, and then triggers you to feel good. Like laughing can reduce your blood pressure by 10 points if you actually have something you're truly laughing at. The amygdala, which is underneath of this hypothalamus at the very end of it right here. This is your pituitary gland, and your pineal gland is right here as well. So all this area is in the central part of your brain, right behind the middle of your forehead. So if you were to take the spot between your eyes and go straight back, like boom, right behind your nose is all of this stuff right here. And so this is fear and reward processing. So when we laugh, we feel good. And it helps to link that hypothalamus to the areas that record memory. And in laughter, it initiates the response. So when you hear someone else laughing, like that wonderful intro that we just did, um, when you hear them laughing, you want to laugh too. And the amygdala wakes up that hypothalamus to release the hormones. So also, this is the spot where if you see things that are unequal or unmatched, or and it looks absurd, or it makes you laugh because it's incongruent, it comes from here, the amygdala. This is where pathologic laughing can also come from too. So there's the kind of laughing where you're laughing at someone who's struggling or having problems, like laughing at someone falling down the stairs, things like that. That comes from the amygdala as well. So it has to go through, it responds to the entire spectrum of the need to laugh, sends it up to the hypothalamus, and then it gets processed in the greater limbic system and then the prefrontal cortex. So I think I copied a slide. I did this so sporadically yesterday. So the nucleus accumbens is basically the pathway between the prefrontal. Don't look at this. Between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala that senses not only the hormones that your external endocrine glands secrete and send back to the brain, but also the stimulus from your sensory neurons, like your eyes and your nose and your ears. The amygdala responds to all of that. Very important part of your brain. And it sends it up into the hypothalamus. And then the hypothalamus says, what do you want to do? Prefrontal cortex sends information back, and then you decide what hormones and what motor neurons you want to fire, whether or not you want to laugh, cry, or scream. So going just a little bit deeper into the brain, at the base of the brain stem here, right underneath where the limbic system exists, and the back part of your brain, the reptile part of your brain, is this cross section here. This is kind of right around, like, just above C1, behind your ears. Like you'll feel that little bone behind your ears if you follow that back, and there's a little pit behind your head. It's back there. This periaqueductal gray matter helps you respond to pain, defensive behavior, vocalization, and breath regulation. That's why if you get an injury there, you have trouble with breathing and you need to be on life support. It controls the voluntary laugh reflex, and it modulates pain through laughter. So all those wonderful hormones that the hypothalamus asks your body to secrete, it comes through this space, and it creates actually analgesia. So people that can laugh, or people that feel good before they have a procedure afterwards, um, we call it the vocal local in medicine. I shit you not. This is actually a real thing. When I have to do a small procedure, before, when I had an office practice, I would always just chat it up with the patient and joke around with her. And then before you know it, the procedure was over and she didn't feel a ding. So uh, laughter is just potent medicine in that way. Uh-oh. Pisces soup, number 6, the soupiest moments. You took a nap, had a dream, woke up crying, and then laughed because none of it was yours. I don't know about the none of it was yours part, but maybe you woke up and laughed and then you woke up again. Anybody ever wake up twice out of a dream? All right, so let's talk a little bit about the hormones of laughter. I've described a few of these, but dopamine is the pleasure chemical. Whenever you laugh, you release this hormone. This is what narcotic addicts, heroin addicts are lacking, because what that drug does is it releases so much dopamine that your body can't catch up, and then you're starving for dopamine. So addiction comes from dopamine because you want that hit. It feels so good, like when you laugh, or when you orgasm, or when you do something exciting. Um, and then the endorphins are also the body's natural painkillers. And then oxytocin. This is the bonding hormone. This is what's released by the posterior pituitary gland, and it's called the love hormone. It's actually also the labor hormone. It helps you go into labor and have your baby. And it's also the orgasm hormone. So oxytocin makes you just feel so in love with everything and everybody and the people around you and your life. And it makes you feel grateful. It's just a wonderful hormone all around. Serotonin is kind of keeps you stable. It keeps all of those quickly metabolizing um, hormones like oxytocin and dopamine. It keeps them stable in the spaces between the neurons and in the cerebrospinal fluid. So the more that you have of these things, the more serotonin you're necessarily going to have and secrete in order to stabilize these hormones. And then cortisol, which is typically thought of as a bad hormone, like the stress hormone, the hormone that makes you act like Superman in a stressful situation, adrenaline and cortisol, those hormones are actually reduced a bit when you're laughing. So laughter reduces the cortisol. You get a surge of adrenaline. So it's kind of like the best of both. But then afterwards, you feel relaxed. So explosive laughter followed by a drop leaves the body feeling lighter and more relaxed. And this is what I wanted to get to with that Kundalini awareness, because that's what it is. It's that release. You feel so good. You have a good memory. Everything is wonderful. Laughter is just a great thing. So here's some benefits to health benefits to laughter. It helps treat insomnia. Sometimes some of the best night's sleeps I get are just recalling a wonderful day where I've laughed a lot. It boosts your immunity, enhances your creativity, problem solving skills, improves your heart health, boosts your memory, and helps treat depression and anxiety. So laughter is good medicine. Laughter is very much a frequency too. So we're going to get a little bit more metaphysical. We're going to jump out of the sort of technical, physical, medical jargon and get into, why is it just awesome? So, just the sound of laughter, like, ha ha ha. There's all kinds of different ways that you hear laughter. You hear, you hear a snicker, you hear a whisper, a laugh. You hear it when somebody's talking. You can see it in their eyes, the smile, and so it's a vibration of happiness, a vibration of joy, and that can be so much more powerful and overcome so many other uh, negative vibrations. When I talk to you about Mercury and resonance and being decoherent or coherent, or sort of canceling out the waveforms that are coming at you, being a master of your own frequency, laughter is the best tool too. So not only is it a medicine, but it's also a tool, because when you can laugh at something that maybe 2 weeks ago might have made you cry or angry or upset, and you just laugh at that, like, because you don't care anymore, it's amazing. It's a game changer. Um, and just being able to breathe and smile, it's good for you. I actually had to go back and redo part of this presentation yesterday because my computer crashed. And My first instinct was, mother effer, I'm so mad right now. But then I said, you know what? I'm doing a PowerPoint on laughing. So really, all I can do is laugh because I want laugh lines on my face as I get older. I don't want grumpy lines on my face. Um, I think people that laugh a lot, people that smile a lot are healthier. They're nicer to be around. They're funner to be around. So laughter is for sure a frequency. And then, of course, we get back to the nadis. And in this picture, it's unwound a little bit so you can maybe see the chakras a little bit better. And look at laughter. Look at, be mindful of this channel of energy in your body. If you think of yourself as a prism, a triangular prism, and that fourth density light is streaming into your field, you are going to bend that light in accordance with the frequencies that you're emanating from these channels, right? And if you are bending that light and emanating a frequency of joy, and you're stirring up, the ether with joy and happiness and fun and, relaxation and peace, if you're stirring that up, that's going to be anything that's out there that's peaceful and happy and joyful and wonderful is going to be attracted to you. Whereas if you're frowning and you're sad and you're worried and you're projecting things that might happen out there, you're just spinning up the ether to bring it right back to you. This is how powerful this prism of light is, that you are as the prism of light. It affects everybody. It affects everything. Like we are all so intricately and intimately connected on this fourth dimensional level where this light exists, because it is the all. And this brain of ours, this magical brain of ours, informs these energy fields as well. So yeah, I would just say, if you're not used to this kind of thinking, start thinking about, there's tons of meditations out there to tune your chakras. I have a couple. I have one on my learn.drdanny.com, and it's free if you want to try it out. It's an activation of all 7 of the chakras. It's really, really beautiful. There's chanting in there. I tune it to certain frequencies that are better for, the energy for each chakra. But yeah, so the reason that we often think of the serpent is because this energy, if it's allowed to, will rise up like billows of smoke, like serpents intertwining. And if they're allowed to, that gentle rising is wonderful. It just feels so amazing. But every now and then it'll hit a block somewhere. Like a lot of times they're in your heart or in your throat, or maybe you'll feel something really passionately and sadly, and there'll just be a burst of tears. And that's that fourth density energy moving through that heart, opening that heart up. And then there's a release that goes with it. So it's just these pop-offs that we're getting. It's a sacred disruption for sure. All right, we're getting into it here. So Pisces soup, the number 5 soupiest moment. You journaled in light language and then realized it was actually a poem to Neptune. Oh my gosh. I don't know how many times I just grab my phone or whatever's near me and just start writing something down or dictating it, because it's coming through, it's popping in, and it's really clear. And when I don't do that, it's just in and out. It's gone. And then sometimes I look back at it and I'm like, what was I talking about? So of course we have, the beautiful kind of laughter. We have babies. They're always so cute when they laugh. And then puppies, of course, they do silly things. How can you ever be mad at a puppy or a baby when they start giggling or being cute or getting the zoomies? These are all good energies. These are all high vibrational ways that laughter moves in and out of our field. And so I just listed them here. So, if you're trying to be more mindful of your spontaneous bouts of laughter, you can check yourself, so if you're maybe laughing at sarcastic comments, maybe laughing at the misfortune of others, that's something you can also be mindful of. But if you're laughing and it's a joke, or if it's something sarcastic and, a joke between friends, or, you're doing it during meditation, this is all good laughter. This is all totally okay. Like, this is high vibrational love and light energy. But sometimes we do have laughter that is not so nice. And so when you notice that laughter reflex, because it is a reflex, you guys, sometimes you just can't help it. You feel it. You can control it to some extent, but sometimes you just can't. And so when you're having a nervous laughter during something really uncomfortable or terrible, okay? Like literally your grandma falls down the stairs and your first reaction isn't, "Oh my god, grandma." It's you just bust out of you like you're laughing. That may be something you wanna look into, like, where does that come from? It might not be bad, it might just be who you are and the way you are, nothing wrong with that, but just, look at it, see what that means for you. It could also be a defense mechanism, like, if somebody accuses you something and you're like, "Pfft, I wouldn't do that," you know? That might not be the right way to react to an accusation, to burst out into laughter. You can control that if you know more about it. This one, involuntary pseudo-bulbar affect disorder, this is sad. This is when you get, like, decreased blood flow to that brainstem area, and what happens is that people will laugh, and they won't be able to stop laughing. So and I giggled a little bit when I heard that because it reminds me of a very touching time when at the end of my grandmother's life. She had something similar to this because she'd had a bunch of mini strokes, and anything she would say, she would follow it with just a joyful, chirpy little laughter. She would also say "Merry Christmas" in July, and she would giggle, and what are you supposed to do when your grandmother's laughing? She's laughing with herself, she's laughing with you, and you're laughing with her, but this can be really tough for people. A lot of times people, because they cannot stop laughing, will feel very sad and depressed. It's terrible. And they put you on drugs to keep you to suppress that part of your brain. Um, Laughing at others' misfortune, right? Like, something bad happens to somebody gets fired, somebody's channel gets taken down, and you laugh because it happens. Or they have a lawsuit and you laugh. That's not cool. You shouldn't laugh at that. That's terrible. But there was a time in my life where my brain was sarcastic enough to laugh at others that I felt I was an enemy to. So there can be some insight into this if any of these list items are triggering you. I'm not doing that to trigger you. I'm just saying like this might be something to look at. Mania or psychosis. So like think of Hannibal Lecter, that or Halloween type laughter. Forced laughter. Somebody tells a stupid joke, or it's somebody you want to impress and they say something and everyone laughs and you want to laugh too because you want to fit in. That's not cool. uh, Laughing to abuse someone, laughing at violence or cruelty without empathy, and sarcastic laughter used to wound or shame. Sometimes when I think back at the stuff that I've laughed at that people have gone through, that, we were just joking around, I'm like, oh, that's terrible. I wish I was a little better person back then. So we've all done it. And anything that's disconnected from an internal emotional state. So, in other words, the laughter should come from you. It should come authentically from you. And the more mindful now you know physically where it comes from. Now you know what it does to your body. So now you can feel that reaction and notice it. Turn on that prefrontal cortex and say, whoa, what are you doing? What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing at that? And that's all you have to do. You just have to ask. You don't have to ruminate over it. Just, what am I actually laughing at? Oh, the soupiest moment number 4 in Pisces soup. You forgot what you were saying because a feeling walked into the room. So, yeah, that happens. So, what's so funny about astrology? Well, the energetics that we're looking at in this astrology is ripe for release. You've got Mercury, Pisces, Uranus, and Mars all making some very interesting aspects in the coming days. So, what we're going to do here is just look at 3 different charts. I'm taking you through the energy of the last couple of days, basically since the new moon to the full moon. And it's very simple. But what I want you to notice, and hopefully over the last couple of days when I describe this energy, and I already kind of have been, you'll go, aha, I get it. I get it. You do see here that Uranus is making these crazy aspects right here, right? They're not crazy, but Uranus is sextiling to Saturn. Uranus is sextiling to Mars. Mars and Saturn are in a trine. This is when you think of Saturn and Uranus together, this is the best representation of Uranus. This is almost as if you have a guide into crazy town. Because you have to, in order for Uranus to actually work, you have to become an expert. You have to know what you're doing. And even if that just means being the expert at yourself and knowing yourself, right? So if you know yourself and you're an expert at that, then when Uranus comes in and gives you something new, you've got all the tools you need to take action at the truest integrity of yourself. And that's what's been going on these last few days. I mean, I've been checking in as much as I can. Hey, what am I doing now? Which way am I going? I'm going this way. And I close my eyes and ask the question. And I give spirit 3 different options for what I should be doing. And sometimes nothing comes up. And I'm like, okay, should I just not do anything? And then that's the answer. So that's what we need to be doing through these portals. At least I need to be doing that where my Pisces is, because that's very helpful for me. So we have all this Pisces soup. We have Mars aspecting back to it and Uranus aspecting back to it. And Mars entered into Cancer. And so this is the point I want to make about this. This is really kind of a big deal. This whole Mars entering into Cancer is a big shift in energy. This is a Mars that can be compassionate, but is also a little bit fussy, feeling a little bit contained. This is a Mars that wants to be out there but can't. Now Mars is Mars is trining all this juicy Pisces soup energy over here. So there's a lot of inspiration, creativity, like we discussed, especially with this aspect that Uranus is making. This is right now, guys. There's an opportunity here to be guided, but it should be focused on getting to the core, getting to the root of yourself. If you can do that, if you can turn off your mind and just focus on you, the right action will flow through this inspired energy here. And I hope you're feeling the laughter and the joy that's present in this energy too, because if you can laugh at yourself here, give yourself a break, like if you do trip while you're carrying a bunch of books and the books fall and you feel like you look stupid, laugh at yourself. Just laugh at yourself. It's okay. In fact, I think that's what we're supposed to do. Slide 33. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that. We had a very nice moon Jupiter over the weekend in Taurus. That felt really, really good. Today, moon is over here with Mars. So, and yesterday was the square to the sun. So we're just coming into that, out of that first quarter square, and now we're moving into that waxing gibbous phase, and then the full moon is coming up next Friday or next Saturday. So, okay, let's see what else is going on. Oh, wait, Pisces soup, number 3, the soupiest moment. You laughed in a Zoom meeting and accidentally astral projected. Anybody else want to admit to that happening? Going into another space? All right. So we are here. We're feeling all of that. We're right in the middle of it. We've got Venus conjunct Saturn. So Venus is doing the same aspects that Mars is doing, yet from opposite space. So Mars is trying to Venus, and Saturn and Venus are conjunct. And then Venus is also sextile to Uranus because she's conjunct Saturn, and Saturn and Uranus are conjunct. So this is all basically that same energy that we looked at in the chart. And Mercury's going direct today. So that foggy sort of disconnected thought energetics can hopefully clear up a little bit, because Mercury is going to be easing off of us. It's going to be getting much, much easier to move through this Mercury, the mental energy in the coming days and as the next weekend approaches. So this week might feel like a little bit of a breath of fresh air for you guys, especially with Venus sextile Uranus. This is just great. This is so creative. This is just spontaneous creativity. This can also be spontaneous, unusual relationships too. So this week, if you're fancying somebody and you're unattached, just be careful. Like, or it might be something that you never expected could also manifest here with those two. It's always a nice energy. And because Venus is moving, stationing direct on the 12th, this is a much longer energy than it normally would be. So expect the unexpected there in the relationship realm, in the thinking realm, in breaking pattern realm, in how you take action. Anything's up for grabs this week, I think, with Pisces. So let's look at tomorrow. This is when Mercury finishes station direct and begins moving direct. Pretty much all the same energy. You can see this trine developing here between the Liliths and Jupiter. This is a nice grounded earthy energy. It feels magical. It feels expansive. It feels attached and intuitive. So I don't know. I would get yourself in nature if you really want to vibe into the higher vibrational energies, the happy energies of this next coming week or so, because this Jupiter with the Liliths is really, really nice. I think that's all I wanted to say about this particular day because really, I think it's these energies here, this sextile chain that's being set up this week between Mars and the nodes, and Uranus and the nodes, and Mars and Uranus. You see this kind of diamond top that's being created. This is synergistic energy, and it's literally involving almost every luminary with the exception of, Moon, Jupiter, and Pluto. Like everything else is involved. This is all wrapped up in this. So Mercury, your mind; Venus, your creative inspiration and relationships; Saturn, your responsibility, your timing, your logic; Neptune, your dreams, your fantasies, your escape. Uh, all here with the drive to dive even deeper into the mist of Pisces. Whew, it's wild. So here is Mercury. This is where we are. We're finishing station retrograde. Like I said, a less intense energy coming our way. And May 30th or so is the beginning of the next Mercury cycle. Ooh, number two. We're getting to the end of this list. The soupiest moment. You cried because a cloud looked like your childhood dog. Oh, yeah. I have those moments of ecstatic bliss in love with the universe. I hope you guys do. And then we get into the 12th. I wanted to talk about that day because the full moon is this day here. And we have moon in Virgo and sun and Chiron at 33 degrees, which is so interesting. And Desiree, I saw your question about Mars and Pluto. Yes, I do talk about this in the full moon decode video. So the general public will get that on Wednesday or Tuesday, but you guys will have it this afternoon, the members. So I actually go into this layout very, very deeply with the numerology. But yeah, this is really just a potent. So what Mars and Pluto are doing as this conjunction or this opposition gets tighter and tighter, because they're still about 5 degrees apart. So this is a very long arc of energy. We're going to be dealing with this for probably the next several weeks. That's why it wasn't on that graph, because it's longer than 2 weeks. This feels like a purging energy to me. This is like, uncovering stuff in the basement. Here's the analogy I like to use for this opposition. So Mars is ready to take action. Mars is ready to take care of what is deeply foundationally at the root. That's Cancer. And Pluto is ready to destroy and rebuild. But what's going on here is, as when you demolish a building, for example, you can't just like demolish it. You've got to consider what's inside the building in terms of toxic materials, in terms of trash and detritus, or even treasures that people may want to keep. Sometimes you'll need like a toxic waste team to come in and clear out the building or clear out the area after they've demolished it because of some kind of reaction that's happened. And I feel like this opposition is that kind of a potential. Like there may be moments where we come up against disruptions in that process of rebuilding from the ground up, because we're finding these areas that need special attention because they're looking at each other, right? Mars is like, I need to take action, but I need to know the deepest truth. And Pluto's like, well, I'm ready to show you the deepest truth, but this needs to be kind of worked on here first. So that's how I see that opposition. And then Mars is also square to Sun and Moon and Chiron. So the attention, the tension here is going to be, you know, how do I heal versus how do I express myself? Chiron's all about healing. And if you are out there worried about other people getting triggered, blaming this is what Cancer Marses do. They can blame other people for their miseries. So if you're blaming other people, this isn't going to feel like a nice moon for you. It's going to feel very emotional, very purging. With Mars in aspect like this to Moon and Sun. So that's why I'm suggesting that we all just kind of focus on this Jupiter, Lilith, and then Moon is joining the Liliths as well. And anything that comes up, just let that release happen, like move in through it, with it. Because when you do that, when you allow that's actually a benefit to have that emotional energy surge come in and take an emotion from you and release it from you, because you don't have to do all that silly, work to find it. It's just there. So when you have those opportunities, man, especially with this energy, it's so ripe to do it. Just do it. Pluto and Mars want you to, and Uranus doesn't care, if you're embarrassed by it. You're supported. You've got Saturn and Venus and Jupiter all saying, let it all go, let it all out. And the number one soupiest Pisces moment, you caught yourself laughing, crying, and vibrating at the same time and thought, oh, yes, integration. So that's that. Oh, yeah, I did a little decode for you guys. It's going to be in the members only folder for a few days, just because I want to love on those members, give them the information right away. It doesn't mean I don't love all of you. It just means that they, are committed to the work that I'm doing. So I want them to see it right away. So I will have that for you all this afternoon. Of course, we have Chiron class coming up tomorrow evening. I have so many of you that are in the class. It's really, really great. I think we're going to have really, really good showing. And then I have like almost 25 volunteers for charts. So I will try to get to all of you. I want to really highlight certain aspects with Chiron. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to fill all those holes in, and then I'm going to see where the presentation could use some more emphasis. And then I'm going to go in order of when I got them. So hopefully I'll be able to use them all. I want to, but I think it would take me 5 hours to do all 25 Chirons for everybody. And I'm good, but I'm not that good. All right, cool. So yeah, I think that's it. What are you guys thinking about? Did you guys like that presentation? Do you want to see more of those? I'm trying to think about how I can incorporate all the different vessels of knowledge to you guys. They're all combined in my head, and I feel like it's a lot for people. But I think the direction I'm going is literally like physical, metaphysical, scientific. I'm going to really try to bring together these metaphysical concepts into actual scientific concepts. So let's see. Nathan Will says Mercury is going direct, trining your Mercury. Oh, that's nice. That means like free flowing, like thoughts and communication are all one. They're all together. Like clear thinking. Have Bliss has Uranus in her 8th house where her natal Saturn lives. Oof. Well, hopefully you are an expert in your Saturnian ways. That's a very powerful place to have Saturn in the 8th house. You're a crisis manager. And the thing about crises, thank goodness, they don't happen often enough, to be experts at, but those that do crises attend them often enough to be experts in them. And I love watching a crisis expert do their job. And the perfect example of that is a trauma, ER trauma team. So when someone comes in after an accident or a big trauma, they go with the flow, but they also have an amazing system and they manage it, and there's no emotional stuff. Just is what it is. Farting is fun too. She Quills made it to alive. Yes, hello. Thanks for coming. Lori asks, I have a question. Why do you laugh more when partaking in marijuana? Well, I think it's probably the same mechanism by which alcohol does that. It makes your frontal lobe, your thinker, go to sleep, so it doesn't have to analyze everything you're saying and doing. Bend that light. Techno Fitness. Desiree has Venus and Saturn conjunct in Virgo. Okay, so oh wow, this is so neat. So I have Venus and Saturn conjunct also, but in Gemini, and we have Venus and Saturn conjunct in Pisces in the water sign, and then you have Venus and Saturn conjunct in the earth sign. That's interesting. So that's like an opposition for you, right? That's pretty cool. Desiree says Mars and Pisces can be great in new relationship realm. Bless the mess, honey. Yeah, Desiree says Chiron is tough for me. Yeah, it is. It is, and Chiron's journey is long. Saturn we thought was hard because it's a 30-year journey, but at least you get, at least 2 or 3 trips with Saturn. Chiron, you can get 1 and a little bit more, and maybe 2 if you're really lucky and healthy. But I think Chiron is. I love that Chiron rules Ophiuchus, because Chiron is the, being the ruler of Ophiuchus is tied to that waking up, and that's what Chiron does for you. It shows you your wounds. It wakes you up. It makes you love yourself, and then you realize, oh wow, now I'm the healer. Now I'm the creator. Now I'm the one who can, uh, you know, reach out and be helpful. Dr. Juan Forfar says, yes, please. Any explanation that incorporates the physiology is very useful. Yeah. So, yeah, I have some papers somewhere deep in my research archives on my computer where there are studies connecting the limbic system to the moon. And that's huge. That's a big one. So I don't know how much the constellations necessarily play into the moon, but it's definitely the phase of the moon. And if there are eclipses, there's definitely disruptions in that fluid. See, Hausler has Venus and Saturn conjunct in Aries. Wow, look at all these Venus and Saturn conjunct people. I have Venus and Saturn tattooed on my arm right here together. And you guys see that in my charts. That's my symbol. That's Venus on top of Saturn. That is crystallizing your legacy. I guess that's what it means. Cool. Well, good. I think I got all y'all's questions. Let me just see. Yeah, that Mars opposed Pluto. That's, it's tough. All right. Good. Okay, guys. Well, like I said, I'll have a little bit of mind candy for you this week, and then on Friday we are going to get together and do a Venus chit chat, because Venus is stationing direct, and on the 12th, very next day, and there's some really cool numerology with all of that. I will also have some amazing news to tell you on Friday. I just have to get my ducks together and in a row, and I will be introducing one of my projects that I'm crying right now thinking about how excited I am to bring it to you guys. So do me a favor, thumbs up if you love this content. Leave me comments if you want to see something a little bit more of one thing, a little bit more of another. I'm willing to adapt. My goal here in life is to teach and to bring complex topics that may be related together so that we can have an understanding of this world that we're moving through, whether it's simulated, computer generated, or real, 3D matter. We're dealing with it. We're living in it, and I feel like I've been blessed with a certain level of knowledge and the ability to accumulate knowledge from different fields, and I want to give that to you guys. So, all right, guys, I'll see all you Chiron class people tomorrow night. And then I'll see all of you lovely subscribers and members on Friday. We're going to end this with the top 10 reasons why you should study astrology and join that Chiron class.